Hi everybody, it's me, Miss Jazz again, and today we're going to be doing a STEM lesson. It's going to be a hands-on project we're going to be doing. We're going to be learning a specific science we're learning about is forensics. Now, forensics is a science you may already know, but you don't know the technical term of it. Now, for me, Miss Jazz, I love a good mystery story. I love a good mystery book. I love a good mystery show. For those of you that were in my class, we learned a lot about that when we learn about mystery writing, and we love to play the game Clue. Now, forensic is sort of the more technical term of that. Forensic is the science of solving using clues to find out what a puzzle and then solve the mystery of that. So forensic science is often used in crimes or something like that. Could be a big crime like a giant bank robbery or a car robbery or something as simple as someone stole a bike. They use different parts of science that include physics, biology, and chemistry. They're all types of science that come together to help solve that crime. Now, one particular part of the forensic science we're going to be learning about is fingerprints. Now, I know some of you have fingerprints. We're going to go more depth into that, but the little markings that are left behind are called fingerprints, or little patterns on our hands. So we're going to go more into that. We're going to learn more about how they are different, how they have different kinds of styles, and we're going to learn how to collect them. Now, some of you, your parents may watch a TV show or a cop show or CSI, and a lot of crime scene investigators, they use fingerprint. You'll see them dusting for fingerprints and trying to figure out, or like, that's the fingerprint of the guy, and he's the one who did it. Get him. And then that's what a lot of them use. They use that aspect to help solve the crime. So learning about fingerprints is also a good way to help you if you get lost. So when when you're born, they take a sort of footprint of you when you're born, so they know exactly what baby it is, because all babies look exactly alike when you're born. So the nurses use that to recognize you. Fingerprints are also used in crime solving, but also a way to recognize you as a person. So everyone has unique fingerprints to learn about that. There's no two fingerprints that are exactly alike. So we're going to go more into that. So let's get into the meat of the project and learn all about forensics and fingerprinting. Let's get into what is forensic science. So here we go. You ever wonder how police investigators solve crimes? I used to wonder as a kid, how do they know who did that? What happens? When is a crime committed? What is left behind? Do you leave stuff behind in a crime? I guess if you're a smart criminal, you wouldn't, but somehow people still leave stuff behind. And does anyone, do you guys have any ideas? You think about yourself. Think about yourself. How would you solve a crime? What do you use to solve a crime? There's many different ways. And what do you think is involved in forensic science? Now, we went a little bit into that in the introduction, but let's see if we can go into a little bit more about what it actually is. So, every time a crime is committed, a criminal will leave evidence at the scene. It can be different types of evidence. So, forensic is the science of finding that evidence, and then we analyze it. Analyzing meaning to research, look through it, look through all parts of it for any clues that will help them find out how the crime was committed and who did it. Now, evidence can be things as a footprint. It can be as tiny as like a carpet fiber, because every type of carpet or material or con is a certain thing they sell. So, let's say you own a pair of jeans from Target. I'm sure that piece of jean material is Target specific to that Target jean. So you're gonna know like, oh, the jean piece was left from someone who bought these at Target. So the also main thing is you can leave hair or you can leave a fingerprint, and these are things that will help identify the actual people who they are. So fingerprints, we're gonna go into a little more depth a bit later, and hair. So your hair has your DNA in it and can pretty much tell exactly who you are as a person. Or they also things can be like a broken window. They can leave remnants of dirt or something like that. So all these things combine together with biology and physics and chemistry, and they combine together to help us put together a giant puzzle that will help you solve a crime. So every piece of evidence will reveal a clue about what happened in the scene. It's the goal of detectives, crime scene investigators, and a bunch of different people and scientists to come together and put them together and figure out what it is. So they're kind of playing a giant game of Clue, but a giant game of Clue for reals, which is, you know, I think, kind of stressful. So they make careful observations and they analyze all the evidence found at the crime scene, and then they have to present that evidence in court. So to make sure that, they can't just like, oh, here it is in the back of my car. They have to make sure it's detailed, analyzed, put together, packaged, and recorded as evidence and stay away. So they make sure that they can use that, because you want to make sure whoever did something really bad, you want to be able to prove, hey, this was the person and this is how they did it. So forensics started by a doctor named Dr. Edmund Lockhart. He was a medical examiner. So in 1910, he opened the first crime investigation lab in France. So he believed that when two items make contact, they exchange a piece of material. So that means when you go somewhere, you leave a little bit of yourself behind. At the same time, you pick up a little bit of piece of wherever you go. So I'm sure sometimes if you're ever going somewhere and you wipe your hair, or sometimes you see hair in the car you ever get in, like maybe some of your hair is left in the car when you sit down at home, or if you're outside, like maybe you went to football practice or you went to like somewhere like their soccer practice, and your shoes have sort of like dirt or mud or grass in them. So you went there and you left a shoe print in the mud, which says, hey, these are the Nikes that belong to that person. Then when you got in maybe the car or your house, you tracked in dirt or grass. And all those kind of things would be considered a type of example of that principle that you come back and forth. You went to the park, you left a footprint, and then you came back with some of that mud and grass in your house. So that will help combining those to figure out where you were, who was there, how it happened. So our next thing is fingerprints. I think fingerprints are pretty interesting, so we're going to go into that. So now we're going to go on to the types of fingerprint patterns that they have. So we're going to go, this slide has a little more, goes into more depth, but since none of us, I think, are going to be solving any crimes when we're at home, we're going to look at the basic of it. So I want you to just really look at the pictures and see what they look like and try to figure out how you can remember the different types, because there's different ways, shapes you can see and look at this. So we have the first one, arches. Arches are the simplest type of fingerprint, and ironically, which only 5% of people actually really have arches in their fingerprint. So the most simplest fingerprint is the least likely one people to have. So they are formed by ridges that enter from one side to the other. So you can see plain, it looks sort of like a hill, like almost like you're creating a hill. Really little bump up, little bump up, little bump up from left to right, right? So these are what plain ones look like. Now you have over here on the right-hand side tented arches. Now with tented arches, they have a spike in the center. So it kind of looks like there's a hill and there's a little tent in the middle of it. You can see where it is, how they look different. Now this one sort of just has a little archway. Think of like an archway for a door. And it's going from one side to the other, one side to the other, one side to the other. This one goes up and there's like just a little tent area underneath. So these are tented arches. These are how you can tell the different types of arches. So try to think of what reminds you of these shapes, and then these are the types they have. So there's a variety of different types. Now, most fingerprint technology nowadays has different points that reference your different kind of points, what you have, and the degrees and the angles at which prints are, to figure out if the prints are the same and who they are. And so it's a really, really in-depth look at it, but we're going through the basic, just so something we can do for fun at home. But if you feel really inclined and you're really interested, there's a lot of books you can get from the library, online library, or look up websites that really get in depth of how fingerprints were created and the different, there's even more depth types of how they are. Now loops. Loops remind me of like a loop-de-loop. It goes up, going one side, and then comes back down the other side, up and down. And now you can see that these patterns are the way are named for that. They look like a loop. If you look at this one, it looks like a loop. And you'll see that word radial and ulnar. This refers to the bones we have in our body. So that's a good way for the scientists to sort of, recognize what part it's coming from. So if you have it coming from your thumb to your pinky, right, side, then that would be, right, go from the radial to the ulnar part. So it'd be like a radial ulnar. So you can see the loops go different ways, and that's how they respond to them. So pretty much, it depends if you're going to get more in depth, if it's an ulnar loop or a radial loop or all these different ways. But as you can see, the loop, think of like a loop, like when you get a piece of string and you loop it around, like you're going to make a knot in a string, how you loop it to make a knot, that's the kind of pattern you're going to see. As you can see here. These are kind of basic, so like a little loop-de-loop, starting a loop. Not exactly an arch, because they're a little bit more tighter, right? The arches were kind of wider, like a real giant hill. These seem to be real tight loops, right? And then these little parts are called delta. They're where the little loops end or start or begin. And they're referencing to the Greek letter delta. So that looks like the Greek letter delta. People look it up. That's what they call it. That. Next one is whirl. Now think of it almost like a whirl, like a whirlpool. Right? Whirl when it goes around. It makes a complete circle, almost like when you're drawing a line, you go again and again and again, and you create this sort of pattern. So that's what they're saying. So when you see whirl, think of a whirl with W-H-I-R-L, and that's going to help you. Now the two different types, they have a plain and they have a central pocket one. So these are kind of easy because you can kind of tell. You can have a whorl. It doesn't have to be exactly in the middle of your finger. It could be to the side, off to the left. Like you learned that fingerprinting is not all the same, and not it. So center pocket one, you can see it's right in the center. Things you have a basic understanding of what they are. So don't get like confused. Like, what does it mean? I don't know, Miss Jess. It's okay. We're just learning the basics, and you might find yourself really interested in learning about this stuff. I know that I did. My dad worked downtown, and he worked in the coroner's office. That was the area where they collect evidence for different crimes and stuff. So his job was he was to sort of organize the package of the material. So if there was a shirt, there was like a material, he would organize it, he would bag it, and he would put a label on it. And that's kind of what his job was. His job was there in the bottom of the basement. And so next to him were the people that did the photography and some of the guys that did fingerprinting kits. So I was really intrigued that when I would go visit him at work, sometimes the photographer guy I would look at how he did the photographs and the fingerprints. And he gave me once a fingerprint kit when I was a little kid, and I did a fingerprint project where I learned all about fingerprints using a real fingerprinting kit from the coroner's office. So that's kind of interesting. So I've always been intrigued by how things that make us different and things that sort of really show that, like we are the same, but there's little things that make us different, and that's special about us. So you can see there's different kinds of whorls, two double loops. So like a double loop-de-loop. See, this one goes one way, then it comes another way. So these are double loops. They're two loops that are combined into one print. So that's kind of interesting. It looks kind of pretty, like different kind of waves going around. And then accidental whorls they contain two or more patterns. So you could have different kind of things around, or you can have an arch, you can have different things. So it kind of looks like a mishmash of a bunch of different things. So now we're going to get to the heart of our actual little project we'll be doing fingerprinting. So first we're going to be doing how we can identify your fingerprints. So we're going to use a technique that will help us look at our fingerprint and help us figure out which ones we have, what types we have, and if you want to, and you get used to doing it, you get interested in it, maybe you can fingerprint your mom and dad, or your brother or sister, or uncle or aunt, whoever's with you. And that'll help you kind of like learn to do more, because we're going to be doing another activity in our next lesson, not this time, that deals with fingerprinting and kind of doing it to solve our own little crime. So that'll help you. So the first thing you're going to do is make sure that you have your supplies. Now, I put a little list beforehand, show you what you need for supplies. Let's make sure you have it. So you're going to need a pencil, obviously a pencil, I have a pencil. You're going to need some clear tape. So clear, it's called Scotch tape sometimes. It's kind of tape you use if you are getting presents. That's what you're going to need. And you're going to need paper. Now, I'm going to show you, I made my own. So you're going to need to be able to know exactly what finger you're taking a print of, because as we said earlier, not every finger is the same. So I can't just take my right fingerprint on my index finger, which is, index means pointer finger, the first little finger here. This little guy, that's your index finger. Index means pointer. Ring means the one next to your pinky. So pinky is the last one. Way to remember, right? So index one next to your thumb. Very easy to remember. So you should be seeing that graphic right now that I put up. So you can pause that, and you can copy it and make your own. So I just used a marker, piece of paper, pencil, whatever you could use. Just make sure you have white, clear paper, or if you don't have white, make sure it's something that's clear so that when you make a mark on it, it's going to show. So you should have something that looks like this when you're done. So as you can see, mine's a little crooked, but again, perfection. We're not real CSI investigators. We're not trying to solve real crimes here. So the way you're going to start, you're going to have a blank piece of paper, and you're going to have tape. Now the kind of thing, it's kind of hard to be doing. It's kind of helpful when you have a partner to do this. Usually when I do it in class, we have a partner. So you're going to need tape. You want to make sure that your tape, you're not putting your fingers all over. Like, now my tape's not sticky anymore. But some ways to help you is to get a piece of tape, long. And if you're by yourself, it's like long. And then put the edge on the side of a table, so it's kind of like hanging off, or on the edge of wherever you're at, and it should be okay. Or if you're really handy, you can do it at the same time, and then put it and then take it off. So make sure that you have scissors if you don't have a handy dandy little thing to help you cut. And sometimes this is hard to cut, so make sure you're asking your parents for scissors in case you really can't pull this tape off yourself. I know it's hard sometimes. So let's get started doing it. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to get a piece of paper. You're going to get a blank piece of paper. Hopefully it's very simple. So something like this. Right? And you're going to get your pencil, and you're going to scribble on it. You're going to rub, scribble on it, because We don't really have, I don't like using ink because your hands are going to get even dirty. So you're going to be scratching and scratching really hard so you get you get enough lead or graphite of the pencil, right, to get on the pencil so it kind of looks like that. See that? So you want to have enough so that it acts like its own ink pad so that you are going to eventually get your finger. So right now I'm going to get a finger. I'm going to get my right index finger. Right index means what? Pointer, right? And I'm going to rub it all over it so that it kind of coats my finger. So you can keep rubbing, you can roll it and rub it really hard. And so then it should look really encased with glue. If you feel like you're not getting a lot, you know what you can do? Just keep drawing really hard, scribble, 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 and rub that finger in there. So now I should have a finger that looks like it has black marks on it. I don't think you can really tell in the lighting I have, but there's some black. And you're going to get your piece of tape. Like I had my tape sitting over here. I'll get off the table. And so I have it right here. And I'm going to put my finger on top of it. So now my finger is all covered in the tape. I'm going to lift up that tape. All right? And then I'm going to place it on my paper. So I'm going to look for right index and I'm just going to place it down. And now I have a print. Okay? So now we know what my print looks like. So you're going to see that I put on the piece of paper and there should be a print right there. You can see that. You can't really see it there. So what I'm going to show you right now is you're going to see, you should be seeing a photo that I took of my print. And it's going to be close up. Now if you have a magnifying glass at home, you can also look at it that way. But since you can use your iPad or your phone, take a picture of your fingerprint and you're going to look at it very closely and you can see what type of fingerprint you have. So you're going to continue this, keep doing your thumb, your index finger, your middle finger, your ring finger, your pinky, and you're going to do that all the way down until you get to your right and left hand finished. And after you get your right and left hand finished, now you can take pictures of them or look at a magnifying glass, and you can see what types, see if you can identify what types of prints you have. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed learning about fingerprints today and forensic science, and maybe next time your parents are watching one of those cop shows, would be like giving them some knowledge about fingerprints and interesting. So hope you enjoyed the first part of our project. So the first part of our project is going to help us do the second part of the project we'll do next week, which is we're going to be trying to do our own little crime scene, sort of trying to figure out a whodunit or situation somewhat by using how to do a lift our own prints. So that's a little tidbit to kind of hang you on. So like I said before, if you really are interested in the fingerprints, you can either look at some books or you can look up some little websites that really show you about interesting things about fingerprints. And to help yourself practice, you can start like maybe looking at other fingerprints. Maybe take your sister or your brothers or your mom or dad's and maybe one fingerprint and compare it. Maybe compare your index finger, right index finger, over your dad's index finger, or vice versa. And you can see the different types and you can see what it's like. So hope you enjoyed this STEM project that we did. And I'll talk to you later. Bye.